We've tested the Land Rover Defender and we had to test its sister.
This is a Land Rover Discovery and this is a pretty vehicle.
Okay, let's start with the exterior of this car. So it is very simple looking, but it does look good. And you get the Discovery badge right here, and the grille is pretty simple. The reason I mentioned that is when we get to the back there is a bit of a different, I would say, rego placement, which might be a bit weird, but overall from the front it looks quite amazing. And compared to the old the old Discovery, the front light looks much more modern thanks to its daytime running light. Now let's move on to the side. Now at the side you can quite literally tell that this is a very long car. I mean, just look at all this. And I have to mention that this panel is weird. I mean, just look at the shape of it. It comes like this and swoops up. It is weird, but it looks good. And I do have to mention, just like the Defender, the Discovery looks very cut off as well, but this is a 7-seater, hence why it's long. Wheels. Now the wheels are 20 inches at the front and at the back. The tires are in good condition. They got a bit of track left, and you do get the Land Rover badge here and a Discovery badge right here. So overall from the side is a very good looking car, and it quite reminds me of a Range Rover more than a Land Rover. So props to Land Rover for that, trying to make their cars a bit better. Now at the back you do get a spoiler, which is unnecessary, but it does help the car look so much better. You do get the Discovery badge here, the Land Rover badge here, and an HSC badge here because this is the HSC version. So the HSE version is the higher spec version of the car. I'm quite tall, but this car seems taller. Anyway, let's move on to this. Now this is a very controversial design. Either you like it or you don't, but honestly it's grown on me, so it's kind of tolerable. And one of my favorite features of this car is its rear tail light. It just looks quite amazing thanks to its LED strip as well. It extends all the way here, and overall design wise this looks very familiar to the Range Rover line more than the Land Rover line. So design wise I would say it's 8.5 out of 10. Do us a favor and do subscribe, because the more you subscribe it will be easier for us to get into dealerships and basically get more cars as well. So you'll be doing us a favor.
So please like and subscribe. Now let's talk about the interior of this car. Land Rover has done quite an amazing job with the interior. As you can see, this vehicle looks luxurious, plus it looks very rustic with these wood finishes on the vehicle. The material used in this car, so the seats are all leather, and then the steering wheel is also leather, and then most of this is not the scratchy plastic you normally get, which is good. So once you do use the vehicle a lot, the wear and tear is less. Now let's talk about the storage. So you have ample storage on the door bins for like 2 bottles. Then you have storage in the central console, which can be acted as a cup holder and also a bottle holder. Then you got your normal space over here, and you got space for your bottles there as well. And then you got more space over here, more space over here, which can be very secretive, and you got your normal traditional space over there. Now let's talk about the seats. So the seats, as I did mention before, it is leather, so it makes it more comfortable, and when you do use this vehicle for purposes such as off-roading, it goes a long way. A cool feature of the seats in the front is that you get an armrest, so you can drive comfortably.
Okay, space at the back. Now I am 6'1" or 6'2", I don't know, don't care. Let's start with the headspace. You do get enough headspace, which is good. Now leg space is a bit of a disadvantage at this side, and we can I'm literally at the max here, but I do get like a centimeter or two. And as we've said before, only Gavin is familiar with working with a centimeter or two. And you do get 2 rear screens here because this is the HSC version and it's pretty cool. The recline function is electronic. Let me just get that set up. Yeah, see? I'm gonna see here and I'm here. That's electronic, which is pretty cool. So at the back it's quite amazing. You do get your AC controls here. You do get dual climate controls at the back, and everything is right here. You do get 2 charging ports here, and one of the coolest things is the floor is flat, so on a long ride for a 7-seater it will be comfortable. Now let's test the third passage or the third row. Okay, now let's talk about the seats in the back. So
knowing that this is the 6th and 7th seat, there isn't a lot of space, but it's quite alright. So what do you think, Paul?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like you can feel very good here, pretty comfy, and also you can sleep here, I think.
Yeah, you could do that. Being the third row of this vehicle, this is not simply designed. So you get storage space over here for a water bottle, and you get additional storage here, which also holds a charging point.
Okay, let's talk about the engine price and specs of this car. So let's get the hood open. So you open it from the left hand side, which is a bit weird, but nevertheless it's something. So underneath you get a V6 diesel, which averages around 7.5 liters, 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which is quite amazing. And this is a diesel car, hence the good economic figures. And the competition of this car would be the X7, the Q7 from Audi, the X7 from BMW, and the Volvo XC90 as well, which are 7-seater cars. And I would have to say, out of all those cars, I would prefer this when it comes to styling. And this car is currently for sale for $80,000 at high quality car sales. Just pop down here, they got a bunch of cool inventory. There is a Sahara, which we are interested in. And I do have to mention that this car has an air suspension, and every car that we've tested with an air suspension is very, very luxurious, and it's so comfortable when you're driving. So we'll get to that in a second. Now let's move on to tech. Okay, let's talk about the tech within this car, starting with the steering wheel. So I'm just gonna grab the camera. Okay, starting with the steering wheel. The steering wheel reminds me of a Range Rover because the design is very similar to that of a Range Rover. And the dash, you do get 2 analog displays and a digital display in the middle. So the digital display can be controlled via the buttons here. And let's talk about the AC controls. So the AC controls are all here. And one thing that Gavin mentioned before is behind the AC controls, you do get storage space, and that's where your DVD inserter is as well. Well, these days no one uses DVD, so let's just skip that. To adjust your climate control, all you gotta do is just pin it. And to adjust your seating controls, you gotta click it, and then you can turn it to turn the heated seats on. It's a very hot day, so let's just turn that off. And the infotainment system. So the infotainment system does get a navigation menu as well, so that's very responsive, which is good. And if you want to adjust your seating, you can go to the seats menu. You can fold the rear seats from right here as well, or you can fold and unfold, or you can also drop all the seats from right here. And you can also control your heated seating from here, so you can turn it on or you can turn it off. Let's just turn that off because it's way too hot today. And overall the infotainment is quite responsive. Now on the center console, one thing I do have to mention is the driver controls. This is your terrain response system, so you can select from multiple modes here. All you gotta do is just pin it, and you do have to press it in order for it to come out. So let's put that back in. This got hill descent control as well. And another cool touch is its air suspension control. So you can control the air, you can basically raise the car or lower the car from right here, and that's a very cool feature. And to select between gears, now this is a feature that I love. This is very simplistic. All you gotta do is just pin this. So overall, when it comes to tech, it is a very amazingly designed and high-tech car. Let's talk about the cool features of this car, starting with this bench slash desk slash whatever you call it, shelf. You can hold up to 300 kilograms here, so 2 to 3 people can fit here, but not Gavin's mom, unfortunately. I'm sorry if you're watching this, I love you. Anyway, let's move on. So this car does get an air suspension, and it can be controlled via the boot. So it raises, well, pretty high. I mean, just look at this. Look at my feet. It's dangling, and you can basically lower and raise the car from the boot itself. Another cool feature is you can put down all of the rear seats from right here. All you gotta do is just press all of this and wait for like 2 hours. That might be a long wait, but when all of the seats are down, there's just so much space in the car. I mean, just look at that. Okay, the second coolest feature is the TVs at the back. So remember as a kid, when your friends had a car with a TV at the back, that was the coolest thing ever. Well, I'm a grown-up and it's still the coolest thing ever. I mean, just look at this. It's just pure luxury. Finally, the coolest feature about this car is the fact that this is the perfect blend of luxury, design-wise when it comes to interior and exterior, and ruggedness, because this is ultimately a Land Rover Discovery, which is quite amazing off-road as well.
Now, let's talk about the annoying features of this car. Number one being that these headrests are not automatically adjustable once it's reclined. So you need to go, you need to do it manually, and that is quite fun. Another annoying feature about this vehicle is that there is this blank button over here that has no use. They could have done something with that button.
Another annoying thing is the window doesn't go all the way down, so it doesn't look cool. You know what I mean?
So, as we did mention in the previous video as well, Land Rovers are not known to be very reliable, but this vehicle is being sold by a reputable car company. So, if you are interested in buying, head over here.
Okay, so let's go for a drive in the Land Rover Discovery. We got a very beautiful view out there. So let's start with the seating position. I do have to say that I am very comfortable in this car. I mean, I feel like I'm sitting on a couch. And we have been driving this car for a minute. I do have to say, this car does get a V6 diesel, which isn't the most powerful engine in the world, but it's still a very good engine. Unfortunately, right now we are out of the pity view, but we are on a road where cars are parked on both sides, and this car could have used a 360 camera, I'm not gonna lie, because that feature would have been so handy, especially driving on a tight road. And back to the engine. So this car does get a V6 diesel, which is not the most powerful car, well, not the most powerful engine, but I do have to mention that it is okay. So this car is quite heavy. It's 500 kilos lighter than the previous version, which is good, but it's still a heavy car. It's over 2 tons, but I do have to say it doesn't feel like that. It feels like I'm driving a very light car, and it's perfect. It feels like a very luxurious car. It feels more like a Range Rover than a Land Rover. And I do have to say that the air suspension, we've been driving this car for a minute now, the air suspension does a very good job at making the ride very, very luxurious. So you're not gonna feel every bump on the road, which is quite good. And driving wise, it's been a pleasure to drive this car. I mean, it's not a sports car, which we love, but it's a everyday 7-seater family car. And when it comes to doing that, transporting people around, it's got enough space, it feels comfortable, it's got enough power to move this massive SUV. And because of those reasons alone, which is doing the job it's supposed to do, it does a very good job at that. So because of that, I would have to say driving would be a 8.9 out of 10. Yes, it's not the specific number because I think the engine could have been a bit more powerful. You can get a more powerful engine, but overall, driving wise, 8.9 out of 10. It's an amazing car. It feels very luxurious, so we'll leave it there. Okay, let's talk about the final thoughts of this car. Gavin, do you want to start?
Cool, let's start. Overall, I would have to give it an 8. One being, it doesn't have that much of a powerful engine, but there's plenty of other cool factors that come into play. So an 8 would be good. What about you, Deepak?
Yeah, I would have to say the final would be an 8.5 because this car does look amazing. I mean, just look at the fact that it's a bit rounder. It looks like a Range Rover. There's so much luxury on the interior as well, but it does lack a sunroof, which is a bit of an off factor for me, and also a 360 camera, especially for a vehicle of, well, this size. But apart from that, I think this car is amazing, especially for a 7-seater, a family car. I would get this or a Hyundai Palisade. Honestly, that's where I am at. And if you want to buy this car, you can head over to High Quality Car Sales. It's here as well. But so they are selling this car for $80,000, and if you are interested, you can come and have a check, test drive it, and you can go from there. They do offer extended warranty as well, and I would have to say that is a must to get. So if you're buying this car, do get an extended warranty because
Defenders, Land Rovers, not so reliable, but
so
it's always good to have a warranty no matter what the vehicle is.
So if you are buying this car, get the warranty as well, and that's where I would leave it. I actually do like this car as a 7-seater, and I do like the Defender as like a very good off-roader.
Yeah. Well,
Is that it?
that's about it.
Yeah. And do us a favor and do subscribe, because the more you subscribe, it will be easier for us to get into dealerships and
Yeah, that's
basically
exactly
get more
right.
cars as well. So you'll be doing us a favor.
So please like
Yeah.
and subscribe.
See you,
Thank
boys.
you. See you later. Okay.